and we're happy to provide these shows in conjunction with the Victoria Jazz community. I'd like to introduce now my partner in crime, Mr. Kelby McNair. Take it away, Kelby.
Thank you so much, Gordon, and thank you to everyone for coming. We're so happy to see you. We're so excited to be playing for you. We, as you know, we are kind of getting our full wheels spinning in this hopefully post-COVID iteration of our programming here, and we've got a lot of great music coming up for you, so please hang on to your hats. This is going to be an incredible show, and I think a really wonderful fall and winter season here. Now, I'll let you know who you're listening to at this point, and then at the end of the night, I'll let you know who you can come and check out next week. But this evening, we have something very, very special. The gentleman you'll hear on bass tonight has played every style of music you could possibly imagine. And he's not only played it, but usually he's lived it, toured it, recorded it, and been a band leader or arranger on it. I'm speaking of the wonderful Peter Dowse. Would you please welcome Peter Dowse to the bandstand? Originally from England and then Montreal, and we're so happy to have him here in our fair city. Now, from a place even further away, I suppose, than Montreal is our special guest this evening. He's an incredible, not only a wonderful pianist, a great composer of songs, a wonderful singer, he's also an incredible storyteller, and in my own opinion, he's a perfect historian, because not only does he deeply love and understand the tradition, but he seems to have been part of it or there for everything you can imagine. Would you please put your hands together for the wonderful, the best in the West, David Vest, everyone. David Vest. All right.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's good to have you here. I understand you're going to lead us through a program of music tonight, which we actually had, like the likes of which we have never had yet at Tuesday Night Jazz at the Church. Would you tell us a little bit about what you got in mind?
Where am I and what day is it?
Well, that's how I know. It's Tuesday. That's all I can do for you.
Yeah, we're going to kind of explore the link between spirituals and gospel music and jazz. And, you know, there's a lot of different theories about what came out of what and what influenced what. Many people say that the blues, rhythm and blues, came right out of the church, and they used Aretha Franklin as an example. But from an older generation, Thomas Dorsey, who wrote "Take My Hand, Precious Lord" and "Peace in the Valley" and a bunch of songs from Mahalia Jackson, said it was just the other way around. The churches wanted what the blues joints had. Like to get the people back to the church, they bring that music in here.
Wait, that's what we're doing tonight.
That's what we're doing, just like Thomas A. Dorsey said. I can cough in the mic if I want to. I know how to do it. I know how to behave, I just can't remember. It's like I was telling them Saturday night at Herman's, you know, I woke up too late to sleep in. And that happened again today. So we're going to include in the evening some music done by a gentleman that they recently featured in a movie. There was a movie called The Green Book about a pianist named Don Shirley. And Mr. Shirley and his family were from Pensacola, Florida. And I was living down in Pensacola, playing for the guys that were stationed there in the Air Force in the Southland Club about the time that Don Shirley first had some hits on the radio and became to be known. And everyone in Pensacola was astonished to find that the record company was claiming he was from Jamaica because they thought people would accept it more than just a black guy from Florida, you know. And Don Shirley, like many jazz musicians, was classically trained, wanted to be a concert pianist, but wasn't allowed to perform on concert stages because of the color of his skin. This was also true of the great bassist Ron Carter. So the reason these guys weren't playing with symphony orchestras, high-class symphony orchestras, is that they weren't welcome. And so some good came out of that because they took their music and their technique into clubs and created a new kind of jazz. Shirley has been called the only major jazz performer who was totally uninterested in improvising. You know, most of us are all about improvising. We want to do our thing, but he was about stating that song and getting into the structure of it. And we'll show you what he did with a couple of things here tonight, starting with one. This is usually called "Since I Laid My Burdens Down." He just called it "Glory Burdens Down, Lord," to shorten the title for the record. So let's try that, fellas. What do I do with this?
Give it to me.
All right.
All right. David Vest, everyone. David Vest.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well,
Yes, this is my birthday month.
should we sing it right? Should we sing it right now? All right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, David. Happy birthday to you. All right.
I don't believe Sun Ra could have sung that any better. Okay, let's lay them burdens down. 1, 2. A tune that Don Shirley recorded several times in his life. Early on, he recorded a version of it with an orchestra. And at the end of his life, he recorded a solo version in his apartment above Carnegie Hall to make a kind of a final statement on this tune, because he'd explored this hymn, for decades. Sometimes the simplest things reveal the richest treasures if you just spend enough time with them. And this is an old hymn from the 19th century written by Fanny J. Crosby called "Jesus, Keep Me Near the Cross." And I'm going to try my best to play Don Shirley's arrangement. a musician being featured in a movie is his songs get re-released. So for many years, you couldn't find anything but Don Shirley in record stores or online. But now, since this movie won the Academy Award for Best Picture, everybody wants to know who this guy was, and so his records are coming back out. And there's a great variety of them, him playing Broadway songs, classical songs, having top 40 hits with his version of Stand By Me, for example. And I've just been, I keep finding new things I haven't heard yet by Don Shirley. I also found some things that I haven't heard yet by some other piano players who play this kind of music. One of them, namely, being Ramsey Lewis. We'll play something else by him a little later, but right now I'd like to play something like based on his version of another 19th century hymn, Pass Me Not. I think Pass Me Not, O Gentle Savior is the full title. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you. I had a friend who went to a concert 4 or 5 years ago to see Bob Dylan, and he was stunned when Dylan opened his show with that song. And he thought he was probably the only person in the auditorium that knew what song it was. Because, you know, they don't even know what song when he's singing Blowing in the Wind, you know. Now, one of the musicians that kind of spans all of these genres was Ray Charles, who, of course, was a Florida native, blind since early childhood. But Ray was deeply into gospel music. He was deeply into jazz. He kept a jazz big band together in the early part of his career, even after he got famous. And you'd go to see Ray Charles, and they'd come out and play big band instrumentals, and then he would sing his hits. They tried to market him as a Nat King Cole imitator. He did his best to sound like Nat King Cole, but he really couldn't sound like anybody but Ray Charles, thank God. And of course, he had rock and roll hits and pop hits and country hits. And one of the things he did was to very overtly and blatantly take things that were being heard in the churches in black gospel music and put them into his own arrangements. And there's a couple of tunes he recorded early in his career that really really show that out. And this one here, which is called Drown in My Own Tears, also recorded by Don Shirley and by Ramsey Lewis, really shows that. You can hear that gospel structure come out in this. I can see the minister shaking his finger at Ray Charles over that one. I don't have many advantages over a great player like Ray Charles, but I do have one advantage. I don't believe he was ever thrown out of a church for playing this music, and I have been thrown out of churches for playing this music. In fact, I would argue that I'm not sure you're a real blues man until you've been thrown out of at least one church. Now, I guess it would have been worse if the entire church got up and left, but threw themselves out and left me there. But I was thrown out of a church because I was, kind of keeping the beat with my foot. I have restless legs, and the minister came over after one song. It was kind of an upbeat number, and he said, "That thing you're doing with your leg, can you stop that?" I said, "Well, I didn't know I was doing anything, so I don't know if I can stop it or not." He said, "Well, don't do it again." And I did it again, apparently. And, you get to rocking on some of these gospel tunes, and it's just like rock and roll. And I was, feeling the spirit and all that. And, people leapt forward to defend me and got into loud arguments with the pastor, which really embarrassed me. It's his church, and I want to be respectful. And I don't like to be anywhere where I'm not wanted. And I don't want anybody around me that doesn't want to be there, and it all goes like that. Anyway, maybe had we played that song or this next one, I'd have lasted longer in that church. But you can, I don't know if you're good at this, but I'm very good at misjudging people. My first impression is often wrong. In fact, I often can't even figure out what kind of day I'm having until it's over, Looking back on Saturday now, it looks like it was a pretty good day because we had a sold-out house there and played good music. But I was rehearsing with a band once in Nacogdoches, Texas. Now, Nacogdoches is the setting of the movie Bubba Hotep, if you've ever seen that movie, where Elvis and President Kennedy wind up in a nursing home in Nacogdoches, Texas, where an Egyptian soul-sucking mummy that fell out of a truck, taking the exhibitions from one museum to another, is coming into this nursing home and killing all the old people. So nobody to protect him except Elvis Presley and JFK. And President Kennedy is played by the great African-American actor Ossie Davis. And there's a scene where Elvis says, "But Mr. President, President Kennedy was a white man." "They died me." "They died me." And they took out my brain and replaced it with sand. I'm thinking with sand here, man. Give me a break. And I was going somewhere with all this. Going to make some big point. What was it? Lord have mercy. Misjudging people. So somebody in the band went to this little Southern Baptist church in the outskirts of the piney woods around Nacogdoches, Texas, and said, nobody's going to be around there. The minister's off. It's his day off. We'll just go in there and play. It won't bother anybody. And we'll, leave it, clean it up, not trash it. And so we're in there just rocking and rolling. And the minister comes in unexpectedly. Apparently he's got another key. And he comes in and he looks at us for a minute and he goes back into the kitchen. And I just stopped the band. I went in there and said, "I want to apologize to you. I don't know what you think of us playing this kind of music in your church." And, I'm having these visions. So here's this fundamentalist, fire-breathing, hellfire and damnation preacher. And he said, I'm sure this is not the kind of music you like. He said, "Well, I liked it all right when I was marching with Dr. King and when I was marching on the Pentagon to stop the Vietnam War. We played that kind of music then and kind of enjoyed it. So I was enjoying it now." And I thought, who would have seen this coming? A Southern Baptist preacher who marched with Dr. King and marched to stop the war in Vietnam. So I said, "I'll play anything you want to hear." Anyway, this spiritual here has been recorded by Ramsey Lewis and many others, and it's been recorded by me on my most recent album. And by some amazing coincidence, we have some of them here tonight. I mean, what are the odds that David Best and the new David Best CDs would both show up at the same place? Nobody's getting out of here till you buy one. No, I didn't really mean that. We've got them if you want them. We recorded a CD live at Herman's, and one of the tunes we played on it was this one. And the CD that this is on is the number 5 Canadian CD in the world right now on the Roots Music Report chart. So we must have played it okay. We're going to try to play it even better tonight. It's called "Wade in the Water." And speaking of bass playing, let's combine the two, do another Don Shirley number that also happens to have been recorded by Ramsey Lewis as well. Except Don Shirley had kind of a hit record of it back in the very early 60s. It's a tune called Waterboy. Peter Dowse on the bass, y'all. Or as we call it, the cello in disguise. Because Don Shirley usually toured with a bass player and a cello player. And the poor cello player had to do the percussion stuff with his bow hitting on the side of his case. I'd like to perpetrate an atrocity now. Doesn't like a good outrageous bout of blasphemy in a church. I'm going to take someone else's wonderful song and mix it with one of mine, and hope it comes out something like gumbo and not just dog food. There's a song that was done by a choir in a movie called Watt Stacks. I saw that movie. And it's called I Don't Know What This World Is Coming To. And this song was performed brilliantly by a great blues musician who's gone now from Seattle, a man named Isaac Scott. And the Northwest is populated with his proteges, people like Norman Sylvester down in Portland that learned directly from Isaac Scott. They became close friends. You have to look pretty hard to find Isaac Scott's recording of this, but it's out there, and I found it. And I like to say that, you know, although he didn't write the song, as soon as he did it, it was his. And I thought some words that I'd written in another song and recorded a while back might fit into it, so I'm just going to see if that happens. Stop this madness, it has gone too far. Stop this madness, whoever you are. Carrying weapons in a public place, exercising your right to be a damn disgrace. Stop this madness, come into the light. Curb your tongue and start walking right. I don't know what this world is coming to. I don't know what this world is coming to. I don't know what this world is coming to. Every time I go downtown, sirens wailing all around. I can't hardly stand to watch TV. Somebody shot somebody, gotta hope it ain't me. Sometimes I wonder who's gonna be the one to take away Satan's guns. And I don't know what this world is coming to. I don't know what this world is coming to. I don't know what this world is coming to. Stop this madness on the radio. Hateful blowhards wherever you go. Crazy preachers are preaching hate. Coins of death in their collection plate. Stop this madness, can't you hear me crying? Stop this madness, drive me out of my mind. Stop this madness, I'm talking to you. Who did you think I was talking to? I don't know what this world is coming to. I don't know what this world is coming to. all aboard for the secret flight. Special rendition in the dead of night. Congratulations, you won a free vacation. Tropical nation, unlimited duration. Under surveillance, freedom under attack. You can give it up, but can you get it back? I don't know what this world is coming to. I don't know what this world is coming to. I don't know what this world is coming to you. I don't know what this world is coming to. I thought I wasn't going to do that song, but the other day it was Halloween actually, which is, that's more than a week ago. I was in a drugstore. I was sent out to get some Halloween candy in case anybody ever came by, and I got there, and of course everything was gone, and what little bit had been left had been picked up by this long line of shoppers waiting to check out, and there was a young man haranguing all these people because they were wearing masks and telling them how foolish they were and going off on the people probably working for something like the minimum wage trying to check everybody out. And I don't know what to call that besides madness. Anyway, I expect I think, we do wake up at different speeds. Do an old New Orleans number now. It goes, probably it started in a rural area, but it became a New Orleans classic, sung at many of the funerals. A slow version on the way to the burying place above ground, and then the faster version in the second line coming back. And it's called A Closer Walk. 1, 2, 3, 4. But you can keep me from all wrong. Well, I'll be satisfied alone. As I walk, just let me walk close to thee. And when my feeble life is o'er, and time for me guide me safely to that other shore where I can walk. Let me walk close to thee.
Granted, Lord, is my plea. Daily walking close to thee. Let it be, dear Lord, let it be. Now, I don't want you people to get spoiled and expect what you heard tonight every time there's a drum solo. Usually when they throw the drummer a solo, you don't expect him to speak in complete sentences. That's pretty good. Well, let me tell just a little story right now. Can I tell just a brief little story? How's our time?
Timeless.
All right. Some things can get twisted and torn up and made unrecognizable by history and by different versions of the story. Did you ever do that exercise in school where all 30 kids line up and you whisper in the first one's ear and you see what it is when it gets to the last one that's completely different? There's an old African-American spiritual called I Couldn't Hear Nobody Pray. And it's about traveling alone through very dangerous terrain in basically, what was terrorist-occupied territory. And just hoping to find somebody you know or somebody sympathetic to whatever you're needing. And the great Paul Robeson sang this song. Jesse Norman has sung it. I think Kathleen Battle has sung it. The opera singers do it. And the basic gist of the story is way down yonder all by myself, and I couldn't hear nobody pray. And if I heard somebody pray, I'd know I found my people. That'd be my community. Well, this comes on up into the 20th century, and different artists start recording it and playing with the idea, and it gets distorted completely out of shape by a very popular country song. This had happened to the song before Roy Acuff recorded Wreck on the Highway. Others had come in and twisted the meaning, and what started out as a song about the dangers of slavery and just wanting some, spiritual companionship to get some strength, turned into a song about drunk driving and judging other people. So by the time it gets to Roy Acuff, I heard the crash on the highway, I heard the groans of the dying, but I didn't hear nobody pray. And you think, whoever's telling that story to is probably thinking, well, what the world were you doing? You could have prayed. Instead of, giving this running account of how nobody was praying. And it's just the majesty of the original idea is diminished so much by this warnings about the dangers of sin and drunk driving, and like if you weren't praying right there at the last breath, you might be cast into outer darkness or whatever. So things get written and rewritten and turned around and turned inside out. Another song that I recorded, known today, is Gotta Travel On. I've played around this old town too long, which the great Ray Bryant recorded a pretty great trio version of. You know, it goes like this. Well, and by the time the country singers discovered it, it became a song about a good old boy shooting them police riding after me, and just going out and raising hell and have a good old time, and the authorities don't like it. I guess if somebody rewrote that today, he'd be right away in his truck. I guess they're trucks. They look like clown cars to me. These big, extra wide, long things. The reason you can't find a parking place in the parkade. There I go again. I can see my mother looking down from heaven saying, he'll say anything that comes out of his mouth. Well, that song started out as a song about runaway slaves and the high sheriff and his dogs and his posse trying to catch me. And I need to get away before they get here. And it was originally called the High Sheriff, and it became played around this old town too long. So it's completely detached from its historical meaning, what it originally meant. And many of these hymns that we're playing, or that are widely recorded and performed, are detached from the cultural significance and social significance they had when they were performed in these churches. Because the only kind of music people were allowed to make in the time of slavery, the people who were slaves, was religious music. And so they would, everyone knows this, I guess, they would pass coded messages back and forth. And they'd be, got to cross that Jordan and get away from old Satan. And Satan is this guy that owns us, But Satan is sitting there in the church approving us singing religious music, So it's got to kind of be a message that's got to go right in front of him, and he can't see it. Talk about not getting it. Wynton Marsalis referred to it as black codes from the underground. And a lot of that happened in churches. I've got to cross old Chilly Jordan. As Dorothy Love Coates said, they tell me Jordan is deep and wide, but I promised my people I'd see them on the other side. And clearly that's, you can tell what that's about. Once you know, it becomes obvious. Here's I think we'll do a little medley of tunes here. They're both in B flat, right? We can do that, can't we?
Okay.
I asked a great musician one time, about something. Can you do this? Can you do that? And he said, a musician can do anything he can do.
Depends.
Yeah. We'll start out with a favorite song of black gospel merging into blues and jazz performers. And it was also my mother's favorite religious song, The Old Rugged Cross. another of my mother's favorite songs. This is from a Western movie. The title of the movie was Stars in My Crown, and the title of the song is Will There Be Any Stars in My Crown? Thinking tonight of that beautiful land we shall reach when life's sun goes down, when through wonderful grace by my Savior I'll stand. Will there be any stars in my crown? Will there be any stars in my crown when at evening life's sun goes down? When I wake with the blessed in that mansion of rest, will there be any stars in my crown? You don't hear that every day. I had no idea I was going to sing it. But I was too late to stop myself. You know, I'm sitting here thinking about how I'm Canada's oldest living promising young pianist, and all of a sudden this vocal comes out. Well, you take a song like Give Me That Old Time Religion. To some people, that's an expression of wanting to go back in kind of a nostalgic way to what they see as some perfect land back in the past. Mainly when everybody in the church was white and, and we were in control and Eisenhower was president. As Bob Dylan said, Eisenhower was president and Senator Joe was king. As long as you didn't say nothing, you could say anything. A song he wrote called Julius and Ethel about the two people that were executed for stealing atomic secrets and selling them, accused of it. How is it that the most famous people in the world have done all these things nobody's ever heard of? Like writing about Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. So, since I've mentioned Bob Dylan, I want to do one of his spiritual pieces, which a lot of professional gospel singers think are pretty great songs. People like Shirley Caesar has sung them. Mavis Staples loves these tunes. And this would be very familiar to you because it was a top 10 hit, and it won him a Grammy Award. And it's in the key of G, and it's called "Gotta Serve Somebody." Ambassador to England or France. You might like to gamble, you might like to dance. Might be the heavyweight champion of the world. Might be a socialite with a long string of pearls. You gotta serve somebody. You gotta serve somebody. It might be the devil, it might be the Lord. You gotta serve somebody. Maybe you're a preacher full of spiritual pride, a Victoria City councilman taking bribes on the side. Might work in a barber shop, you might know how to cut hair. You might be somebody's mistress, somebody's heir, but you still gotta serve somebody. If you're not, you will serve somebody. I don't care if you worship the Buddha, if you listen to Rai Kuda, you gonna serve somebody. I'd like to wear cotton, might like to wear silk. Might like to drink whiskey, might like to drink milk. Might like to eat caviar, might like to eat bread. Might like a plate of crawfish, you can suck the head, but you gotta serve somebody. Serve somebody. I don't care if you're the Ayatollah or the king of rock and roller, you will serve somebody. You're rough to dufty and serve somebody. Wow, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, you gotta serve somebody. Lonesome Road and get out of here. The Lonesome Road in the key of F. Yep. It's designed to fool you. It's in 4/4 time, but it sounds like a waltz. Either that or I've got a different song in mind. It's happened before. Thank you, doctor. As I said last week, my birthday show at Herman's, it wasn't actually my birthday. It was just observing the day I arrived from Saturn. coming out.
Thank you so much, everyone. That's the wonderful David Vest, everyone. David Vest. Fabulous Peter Dowse on the bass. It's Peter Dowse. My name is Kelby McNayr. Thank you so much. One more time, please give a big round for our very special guest, the best in the West, the great David Vest. David Vest. All right. Thank you, David. Thank you, Peter. Always a pleasure to have you here. We'll have to get you back here very soon with some other wonderful themed historical concert where not only we get our toes tapped and our souls inspired, but ourselves educated to a whole lot of history. So thank you very much. That's right. Oh, also, yeah, don't leave home without it. Christmas is just around the corner.
Hey, Kelby, can I have the mic? You know, this is such a special occasion. Y'all coming out here, sang happy birthday to me and everything. And usually these CDs are $20 a piece, but tonight only, they're 2 for $45.
And now it's my great pleasure to not only tell you who you were listening to, but tell you who you can listen to if you come back next week. We have a wonderful group. This is led by the great and award-winning tenor saxophonist, originally from Williams Lake, who now resides here after spending time in New York City and Amsterdam and Toronto. His name is Ryan Oliver, and he's going to be here with an organ quartet that he plays with once in a while around the city that features his father-in-law, the great Toronto jazz guitarist who just moved out this way, named Mike Crawford, the wonderful jazz organist, Dr. Tony Genge, and yours truly on drums. So please do come back next week for the Ryan Oliver Organ Quartet. In the words of Duke Ellington, we love you madly, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. She actually doesn't like them. She says I look like a leprechaun. Oh my